In the last class we looked at the experiment HSQC and saw some examples of how the peak pattern appears in this spectrum. So, we will continue now with another experiment which is a 2D heteronuclear multiple quantum coherence experiment, and that is called as HMQC. So, information wise 2D HSQC and HMQC are exactly same. You do not get any extra information in HMQC which you do not get in HSQC as far as practical aspects of using these experiments are concerned. But let us have a look at how HMQC is different from HSQC and where does it have a better advantage compared to HSQC. So, the pulse program is shown here. You can see this is similar to a little bit similar to what we saw in HSQC, and this is called the proton channel, this horizontal line, and the pulses applied in the proton channel are shown here, and pulses applied on the carbon channel as is shown here. So, one thing if you notice is that the number of pulses here is much less than what you saw in the HSQC, and that is already you can see the first advantage of HMQC, that it has much less number of pulses than HSQC. So, what it means is that you can get the same information what you got in HSQC with much simpler pulse program. And why is this less number of pulses useful? In general, each pulse is not again 100% efficient due to several reasons, and that inefficiency gets multiplied as we apply more and more pulses. Typically in NMR the 180 pulses are not very good efficient as compared to the 190 degree pulse. So, 180 degree pulse are very bad in terms of the efficiency, and therefore, one of the areas of research in NMR is how to design a very good 180 degree pulse. There are several papers published over the years on just looking at a inversion, this is like an inversion pulse or a good refocusing pulse. The reason this is bad, this is because it does not excite the full chemical shift range. Remember in carbon, in the case of carbon, the chemical shifts go from 0 to 200 ppm. So, now if you let us say you are working at a 800 megahertz NMR spectrometer, that is 800 megahertz is for hydrogen. So, for carbon it will be 200 megahertz 1 over 4. So, now for carbon 200 megahertz, and if you look at 200 ppm, if you calculate this 200 ppm scale in hertz terms, in terms of hertz, it is 40 kilohertz, 40,000 hertz. So, that means your pulse which you are applying in carbon, if at all you apply 180 degree like we saw in the HSQC, your range of coverage has to be 40,000 hertz, and that is not typically possible with a simple 180 like this. Therefore, you need a broad band, means a broad coverage 180 degree pulse, and therefore, there have been series of different ways methods proposed in literature how to achieve this. So, let us now look at HMQC. It is a much simpler experiment in terms of the number of sequence pulses. So, similar to what we saw in HSQC, you need to transfer polarization from proton to carbon, and that is typically done with using a inept block. But this inept is not same as the inept you saw in the HSQC experiment, because remember if we saw two 180 degrees and so on, but without this 180s also we can achieve this transfer, and that is what is shown here, but is slightly different. So, we will still call it as a regular inept. Then you have a reverse transfer back like we saw in HSQC, again it is not looking at all similar to what we saw in HSQC, but it is a polarization transfer back to proton by using J coupling. So, let us call this as reverse inept, and in between is the evolution or chemical shift of carbon takes place, and that is what is captured as at FID in the indirect dimension. So, this is very similar to in terms of the way we look at in HSQC, we got a transfer of polarization from hydrogen to carbon, we evolve the carbon, then go back to proton and detect the proton. So, similar considerations apply. If you want a very good transfer efficiency, then your delays here have to be tuned to the right values. So, the delay here is 1 over 2 j, this is should be 1 over 2 j. So, let me correct this, it should be 1 over 2 j, and this value of j is 120 to 125 to 220 hertz depending on the carbon which you are looking at, and therefore, the value if you calculate is roughly around in this range. So, this is again from a practical point of view, if you want to achieve a 100% transfer, one has to then keep the values in this range. And now let us look again, analyze it mathematically, how this how the FID will be captured. Similar to what we saw in HSQC, we are looking at a hydrogen carbon pair where they are attached directly by one bond. Okay. So, therefore, this hydrogen to this carbon is coupled by J coupling, and that is achieved, the transfer of polarization from proton to carbon is achieved by using inept. So, the carbon polarization now comes here. During this period it evolves by the chemical shift of carbon, and that is what we call it as captured as cosine omega c. Of course, in all these experiments till date whatever we have seen, we are only looking at cosine part, but this is something which is I have done to simplify this whole exercise, and actually in reality we do not do like this. In reality we also have a sine component, we use the word complex signal, but in this entire course the idea is to get a qualitative picture of how NMR different experiments work. So, we are not going into details of how actually the experiments are conducted, but we will see in the advanced topics section we will cover what is called quadrature detection. In a quadrature detection you have to get both the cosine and sine component of the signal, because that is what gives you finally the signal with sign discrimination. So, let us time being not consider those aspects, we will ignore those, we will just say that idea is to capture the chemical shift as a sinusoidal modulation, and that is what is done here. During this period the carbon evolves because of the chemical shift. Now, again similar to what we saw in HSQC, there is a 180 degree pulse on the proton applied on the proton channel right in the center of the T1 part. So, half T1 is this side, half T1 is this side, and in the center is the 180. This is done similar to what we saw earlier. This is done for decoupling protons from carbon. So, that is achieved by applying this 180 at the center, and then we come back to the proton here by reverse inept, and then whatever has come back we detect the proton chemical shift during the T2 detection period. So, and here again we decouple protons for carbon from protons. So, there is no J coupling interaction between these two. So, this is very important. So, we now basically got an FID which combines this chemical shift of carbon with the chemical shift of protons, but again remember we are looking at this pair here. So, every pair which has a proton has transferred to its neighboring carbon, come back to proton. So, we are captured this chemical shift correlation or connection between these two in this pair. Okay. So, every one bond pair proton carbon attached will show up in your spectrum. So, let us look at example spectrum, again looking at the molecule glutamine. Again this is going to be exactly similar to HSQC, HMQC spectrum similar to 2D HSQC. So, all this chemical shift everything are same. So, here we will not go through the exercise of finding out which is which, because it has already been assigned here. So, 1 is this carbon proton, 2 is this, and 3. So, very similar to HSQC, this is not a real spectrum, this is a schematic, but in reality very hardly any difference if you look at the bigger picture, means at the overall, but small fine details definitely will be not same. So, let us see what are the similarities and differences now between the two experiments that we have seen. HSQC and HMQC. So, HSQC gives one bond proton X correlation. So, we have only looked at carbon. If you look at fluorine or if you look at any other nucleus, you get the same information, you get between proton and a directly coupled X atom. Now, the question is, how do we know it is directly coupled? The reason is that we have tuned the J value or the inept experiment. Remember, we looked at the inept pulse sequence block, and there we discussed that you have to calculate the delays exactly for the coupling value. If you do not set the delay in inept according to the coupling value, the efficiency of transfer is less. So, therefore, to get 100 maximum transfer, we have to tune it to the coupling value. So, if you tune it to a different coupling value, suppose there is one more X and you tune it to that coupling. So, let me make it more clear by drawing a schematic here. So, let us say I have a hydrogen, it is coupled to X, and down the line there is one more X prime in the molecule, and there is a connection by, let us say, 2 bond, and this is 1 bond. So, if this J value will be some value, let us say 100 hertz, but this J value will not be 100, it will be very less because it is far away, 2 bonds. So, let us say it is 10 hertz. So, now what I can do is, in my HSQC or HMQC, I can tune the delay according to the value of this J value. So, if I tune it, means I arrange it or keep it at the corresponding to 1 by 2 J of 10 hertz, then I will get a maximum transfer from here to here. But this to this transfer will be not very good, because I did not choose the delay period to be tuned to this value. But if I tune my delay period to this value, then this coupling will be not observed, or means not will take place. Okay. So, this is how we can selectively transfer the polarization from proton to a neighboring X nucleus, which is depending on the coupling value. So, I can choose to transfer either this direction to go to here, or I can decide to go this way, just based on the simple idea of 1 by 2 J in the inept part based on the J value. So, I should know roughly the J value of my system. So, this whole process is exactly what we are going to do, we do in HSQC and HMQC and as well as HMBC. So, we will come to HMBC in a short while. So, the idea in HMBC is called heteronuclear multiple bond correlation. So, that means we go to more than one bond, and that is in that experiment we suppress the direct one bond correlation. So, direct one bond correlation comes from HSQC or HMQC, which is what we are discussing here, but in HMBC we go to a longer bond and we suppress, because how do we suppress? We simply suppress by tuning our delay in inept sequence, which we saw inept portion, by either for this coupling 1 by 2 J or using this coupling. And again, this is a rough example, but we should know roughly or to some fair extent the coupling value. So, now let us look at the other important feature of HSQC is that there is no splitting along the omega in the T1 axis due to proton proton J coupling. Now, what is this thing? Let us go back and visit the sequence. So, you can see here, this is for HMQC. Here what happens is, once you excite the proton here, the first pulse, then there is no 180 degree pulse anywhere. Okay. So, the magnetization of proton remains in the x and y plane. There is no other 90 degrees in like in the HSQC to take it to the z direction. So, when it is in xy plane, the proton during all this period, it is then coupled to each other. Okay. The protons are coupled to each other. Whenever a proton is in xy plane, it will be coupled to all other protons. So, that proton proton coupling is active, is there throughout the sequence. That means, it is also present during this sequence, this part. And what is this part? This part is basically the indirect vertical axis dimension. Okay, so in the 2D. So, in the 2D, so again let me draw it as an example or a schematic. So, 2D is like this, you have carbon 13 here, this is called T1 or we use the word F1, and this is proton, this is T2 or we can call it as F2, F2 means frequency. So, now this peak, let us say we get a peak like this in this correlation, but during this period, that is T1 which is shown here, then in the T1 part there will be a slight splitting because of proton to proton coupling. So, this is basically like the J coupling between two protons. So, I will write it as JHH. Okay. So, we did not see that in the spectrum which I showed you, because that was more like a schematic drawing, but in reality if you give a very long value here, this portion, then you will find couplings between to proton will start appearing in the along the vertical axis. So, this peak will not appear as a single peak, it will appear as two peaks. So, this is called F1 splitting, and that does not happen in the HSQC. And why it does not happen in the HSQC? Let us go back to HSQC. In HSQC what happens is, you can see there is no splitting. The reason is that you have here during this portion of the time, because of this 181, because of this 90-degree pulse, the proton goes to z axis. Okay. So, we are not going in mathematical details. So, I am just qualitatively explaining what is why there is no F1 splitting in HSQC, which is because the hydrogen during this portion, when the carbon 13 is having a chemical shift evolution, during that period the proton is along z axis, and when the proton is along z axis, it cannot be coupled to any other proton. So, that is a theorem in NMR, which will not theorem, but there is a rule in NMR which will not go in detail, but if you keep a proton along z axis, you can now keep it uncoupled to any other nucleus in any other protons, and during that whole period, as long as it is in the z direction, it will not be coupled to any carbon, any proton, sorry. And this is just a 180, it is not a 90-degree pulse. So, that will not affect that coupling. So, coupling will remain 0, I mean it will not be coupled between two protons. That is not there in HMQC. In HMQC it is along xy plane, and therefore, here it is coupled. So, this is a big difference between the two experiment, that in HSQC there is no splitting, but in HMQC there is splitting. Okay. So, this is one major difference between the two, and because of this reason normally we like it for a bigger molecule, because sensitivity is a major issue, and second is another reason why sensitivity is bad for HMQC. So, as far as the HMQC overall sensitivity, if you give a rank, it comes second rank or next to HSQC, because of this number 1 is splitting problem, number 2 there is what is called relaxation problem. The multiple quantum coherence relaxes much faster compared to a single quantum coherence. Okay. So, that is why multiple quantum is less sensitive compared to single quantum. But that is why we prefer this overall sensitivity being better in HSQC, we prefer this for biomolecules, where in biomolecules the molecules are very large in size. So, therefore, the signal to noise in biomolecules is slightly always lower compared to small molecules. So, when we say biomolecules, we are talking about peptides, bigger peptides, we are talking about proteins, and these are their correlation time, the rotational correlation time is very high. So, therefore, the sensitivity or T2 relaxation is very short. So, whenever T2 is very short in NMR, the signal to noise will be very poor in that for that molecule. So, therefore, whichever experiment has a better sensitivity is always preferred. But having said that, HSQC is always not that good, in the sense there are many number of pulses you apply. We saw that in the case where for the inept we needed a 180 degree pulse which has to be broadband, because 180 has to cover a big range from 0 to 200 ppm in carbon. But in HMQC, if you recollect, or let me go back, we do not have any 180 on the carbon channel. So, 180 on carbon is not so critical in HMQC, and you do not need to have a special 180 degree pulse which is broadband. So, that is why HMQC is easy to apply. And second reason HMQC is preferred to small molecules is that it is a very simple experiment in terms of number of pulses, and nowadays or in the recent times there have been many experiments which have exploited this to accelerate the time required to do NMR experiment. So, there are some accelerated NMR approaches which we cannot go in detail because it is a more research oriented topic, and that was developed around this because that exploits some of the features of HMQC which you cannot do in HSQC. So on so forth. So, therefore, HMQC is preferred for small molecules, and for ideally for large molecules where you want to get maximum sensitivity, where speed may not be the factor, you want to maximize, and you can do many more sensitivity enhanced approaches in HSQC. So, these are basically the broad differences between these two, and we will now move to the third experiment called HMBC. So, this is, as the name suggests, it is called heteronuclear multiple bond coherence spectroscopy. So, now what is the information extra here we get which we do not see in the last two experiments? We will have a look here. So, here if you look at this, this is again a schematic, and this is the molecule glutamine which we have seen in HSQC analysis. So, what you will see that this proton is coupled to this carbon by one bond, but as I said it can also have a further remote coupling to another carbon which is 2 bond, okay, which will be smaller compared to this is typically let us say 140, this will be much less, about 10 or even less. And you can also have a further coupling this side even more. So, this is 3 bond which is even less, which is 2 to 5 hertz, sometimes even less than 2 hertz. So, it varies, but there is a finite small coupling possible up to 3 bonds. You can go further, but that is much weaker and we can ignore. So, we will focus only on 2 bonds or 3 bonds carbon proton long range coupling. So, what we can do, as we saw in the previous slides, that we can tune, means we can adjust the word delay value period in the inept part of the HSQC such that I get only coupling to the longer range coupling values, but I can suppress the intermediate, the direct strong coupling. So, because the strong coupling means this pair we have already got it from HSQC. So, we do not need to again have another experiment to give the same information. So, this HMBC was designed to get information of longer range coupling. We will see shortly how that helps to resolve some kind of ambiguities, but HMBC works by going to 2 bond and 3 bond. I do not have the pulse sequence shown here, but it is similar to very similar to HSQC or HMQC, sorry, not HSQC. And what is done is the delay value, the J inept value is simply tuned to long range coupling, and so that the short range, that is this, is suppressed by appropriately choosing the inept delay values. So, that is all it changes we make in the experiment, and HMQC now gets converted into HMBC. So, we will not go into the pulse sequence details, but let us now look at information, what is the information wise we get. So, let us come to this spectrum. So, here in this line, okay, this is the line, this vertical dotted line corresponds to the proton number 1 which we saw in the HSQC, it was around 3.5, and the carbon, this carbon was around 60 ppm. So, somewhere here, but now we have suppressed that correlation and tuned our correlation to long range. So, now I will start seeing this proton to this carbon correlation, and that is what is 1 to 1 proton number 1 which is on this horizontal line and 2 in the particle here to the carbon value. So, that is 1 2 combination which is here, and similarly I will get 1 3 combination which is not shown by an arrow, but that is what I will get here. So, I will get 1 2 and 1 3 connectivity because I have tuned this experiment to a longer range and suppress the short range interaction in terms of seeing in the peaks. Now, similarly let us go to the second carbon. Here this carbon proton is now has 2 bond coupling to here, a 2 bond coupling to here. Of course, it has also to carbonyl this carbon and also to this carbonyl amide, but that is not shown in this because it is only going from 20 to 70. We will see in the next few slides examples where we can actually exploit this carbonyl connection to this proton. So, that you can see, let us time being only focus on this. So, similar to what we saw in the case of first proton, now in this line which corresponds to the middle carbon proton, if you recollect, we saw there was a peak around 2.2 and we got a peak somewhere here. Now, that is gone because it is suppressed, but we are seeing a long range information and that is coming here. So, on the hydrogen which is corresponding to 2, I am getting a peak at for the carbon number 1 which is this carbon and carbon number 3 which is this carbon. Now, let us look at the last case, last proton in this molecule, again similar. We saw that we have a proton here which is number 3. So, we had a peak around 2.5 ppm in the proton and we are not seeing a peak at this position because that is the direct one bond which is suppressed, and all we are going to see here is the connection from 3 to a longer range. So, 3 to 2, that is the hydrogen number 3 to carbon number 2 and hydrogen number 3 to carbon number 1. So, that is what we see here. Okay. But what is suppressed is the direct connection. We will also be able to see a connection or correlation between the proton number 3 and this carbonyl, or proton number 2, proton number 3 and this carbonyl, but this is very far away. This is much closer, but as the spectrum is only plotted from 20 to 70, that peak comes which comes at 170 is not shown. Okay. But this interaction, now we can see it starts giving us longer range information. It is helping us to tell us that this proton is not only attached to this carbon which we get from HSQC, it is also telling us that what are the other carbons which are close, that is 2 or 3 bonds away from this proton. So, in a way it is helping us to get a connectivity information. So, we will see this in the next class. We will see how this information, a long range connectivity correlation information will help us to resolve ambiguities which we will get in sometimes we will see that a COSY, a 2D homonuclear COSY and 2D HSQC together is not sufficient to get the complete structural information, connectivity information, and that can come from HMBC. And we will also look at one more final experiment in next class, which is a 2D heteronuclear experiment, before we start moving to the last part of the course on structural analysis, the second last part.